The third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is all about the path of selfless action. In this chapter, Krishna explains to Arjuna that it is better to act without attachment to the results of our actions. By doing this, we can live a life free from stress and anxiety. We can also find true fulfillment in our lives by serving others without expecting anything in return. Arjuna begins chapter 3 by questioning Krishna as to why he promotes battle since wisdom is preferable to productive work. After that, Krishna teaches karma yoga, reaction-free devotional practice, and dispels Arjuna's delusional idea that all labor results in slavery. In this material world, everyone must contribute in some form of action. However, one's behavior may either bind them to this universe or set them free from it. One can overcome the rule of action and response, and achieve transcendental consciousness of the self and the Supreme by acting under the satisfaction of the Supreme and without hidden goals. Arjuna should fight, Krishna adds, after doing devotional work would help him avoid sinful emotions instead of trying to avoid them by quitting work. Arjuna is commanded by Krishna to fight, to set a positive example for others. To avoid surrendering to his own desires and surroundings, Krishna instructs Arjuna to fight with knowledge and objectivity. Krishna defines the opponent's response to Arjuna's question on what motivates a soul to act foolishly or ignore its duties. He then gives Arjuna advice on how to control his senses, solidify his identity as Krishna's servant, and free himself from desire. Then, he should defeat that powerful enemy, lust, with spiritual courage and deliberate knowledge. Arjuna is disturbed by Krishna's words in the previous chapter at the beginning of the third chapter. He thinks that Krishna's advice to restrict his senses and focus his intellect and knowledge on the Supreme is contradictory with taking action. He challenges Krishna's motive for asking him to fight the war. Krishna responds by explaining karma yoga, the practice of engaging in acts free from the desire for self-centered, profitable gain and devoted to the Supreme. Both worldly pleasure and material suffering are brought into being through action. Regardless of how one feels about the consequences of their actions, they still link them to the cycle of recurrent life and death in the physical world. Krishna continues by saying that remaining still will not protect one from material interactions. Everyone is compelled to act by nature. Even maintaining one's physical body requires labor. As a result, one should strive in a way that ultimately frees them from material slavery, rather than further entangling them in it. Working and doing for the satisfaction of the Almighty is the discipline of karma yoga. Work must be performed as a sacrifice to Vishnu, else it connects one to the material world. Hence, O son of Kunti, carry out the assigned tasks to his satisfaction, and in doing so, you will always be free from ties of kinship and attachment. The subject of sacrifice, or the Vedic ritual activities that cleanse and raise the practitioner from fruitive to spiritual actions, comes next. One who has attained full self-realization is no longer required to carry out such duties because the Lord has already purified him and enlightened his responsibility for them. To provide a positive example for people who are devoted to the benefits of work, he should still continue to do his duties in an unfruitful manner. In the final portion of this chapter, Arjuna leads to the question, by what is one driven to sinful activities, even deliberately, as though engaged by force? In response, Krishna says that lust, the destroyer of self-awareness and self-realization, is what inspires evil behavior. He then provides a solution, sense management motivated by spiritual self-awareness. The sources of desire are the senses, intellect, and intelligence. One should govern the lower self by the higher self and thus with spiritual power this relentless enemy known as lust. This is because one should recognize that the self is transcending to the material sense, intellect, and knowledge. In the third Adhyaya, we learn a different aspect, one of an enlightened soul who has passed on his knowledge so generously that every single disciple becomes empowered to change their life with it.